Halloween
forever.
Evening, Steven. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. How you doing?
Got power.
Yep.
We're got very limited challenges this beautiful spring Friday evening, except for some dog shit movies we're about to get in. But before we get into that, really, man, this has just been an ongoing thing in our household. My wife, she's always waking up in the middle of the night, and she just talks in her sleep. You know?
Oh, yeah? Weird.
Yeah, she's always like, she's just muttering in her dreams. She's always talking about how, you know, she's like, Frodo this and Samwise that. You know, she's always talking about how she like sounds like she wrote the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know what I mean? From just what she's muttering in her sleep. It's wild.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm used to it, though. She's always talking in her sleep.
Hey.
Welcome, boys and girls, to a fucking stupid Showdown episode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
And I'm dumbass Steve on this dumbass episode.
I wasn't laughing at that joke. I was laughing that you laughed. It tickled me that you couldn't help but get a little chuckle about how fucking dumb that joke was.
Yep.
That's really what I'm going for. I'm not trying to make people laugh. I'm just trying to force Steve to laugh against his will. That's really all I'm trying to accomplish. And listen, if we don't go into this Showdown episode with a little bit of sense of humor, we're going to kill ourselves because
in front of you.
Some of the fucking worst movies we have ever done in a Showdown, ever. And it's your fault, listeners. And I blame you and I'm mad at you. And I don't care if you turn off the podcast. I don't want to talk to you right now because I'm mad at you because you made us do the absolute fucking dregs of the Nightmare on the Elm Street franchise. Oh my God.
With the nightmares on the Elm Streets.
The nightmares on the Elm Streets. It's fucking terrible and I'm mad at you. So I hope you didn't find that funny. But before we get into blaming the listeners and berating them for their poor decisions, we always got to do a couple things at the top of the show. First of all, before we get into explaining, well, we got to do a couple of things because we were a little out of sorts last week. A lot of things happening. Steven, you were without power for like the better part of a week, as were many people in the greater Pittsburgh area. That sounded fun.
Yeah, 6 days, no power, and just
Jesus.
My daily ritual became wake up in the morning, go to Dunkin', charge my phone at Dunkin', read some H.P. Lovecraft, and then find something else to do during the day.
Yeah, that's we had our power off just for a very short amount of time. We were amongst the lucky ones. A lot of folks did for multiple days on hand. Here's how Pittsburghers are going to know that it was bad. I was talking to Bob Pompiani, humble brag, local legend Bob Pompiani. Bob Pompiani had no power for a couple days.
That's
we had
crazy.
a thing that he was hosting for the Steelers that I was at, and he was like, yeah, I had to go shower at my mother's house. Bob Pompiani's an old gentleman, so I imagine his mother's even older, because he didn't have any power. So like literally hundreds of thousands of people think without power. So Steve didn't get power back until right before we would have to record. And then your boy over here decided to do just one of the dumber things that I've done. I've done a couple times. And last time I did it about 8 years ago, I said, I'm never going to do this again. And then I forgot how stupid I was. And I did it again, which was I ran a half marathon last Sunday. And I still hurt. It was terrible.
Oof.
Not fun, not rewarding. Don't feel good about it. My hip still fucking hurts. And one of my toes is black and the toenail's definitely going to fall off. And I don't know how. I don't remember injuring it during the run. I just I got done. It's miserable. You're just like a fucking, zombie running for, fucking hours on end. I get done. I go home, take a shower, clean myself up. I'm like, ooh, my toe is starting to get a little black and blue. The next day, the whole front of the toes, like black, not even purple, like black, severely bruised. And now my fucking toenail's going to fall off. I don't know even what I did to it. Word of the wise, really moral of the story for me and anybody listening, don't run long distances. Your body's not made for it, especially my body. And just maybe don't even exercise at all. Just, I don't know, do whatever you can do to accelerate your trip to the grave, because that's really probably the best for everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure we've said this before, but like, what is the point of carrying on? Because all the time that you get from exercising is the bad years. It's like, who wants to be 70 and 80? Those are the bad years where everything hurts and nothing works and your brain is all stupid and you fucking ruin everything because you're fucking stupid and everybody hates you.
Here's why I do things like this. Because I have something in my brain that tells me you need to prove something to somebody, but nobody cares. Like, it really and truly, nobody cares. Nobody was like, Brian, you're all your problems are solved because you did this thing now. You know what I mean? My brain, after I did it, wasn't like, Brian, you're good enough now. No, it didn't solve any of my mental health issues.
And like, nobody paid you.
Literally nobody. I spent money to do that. I spent I think it was like $150 to do this thing. I really and truly believe that it is 100% a symptom of my mental health issues. But here I am with a black toe, about to lose a toenail, limping around for a week. We did not get a chance to record last week, all this culminating in saying, but we did not get to do our Showdown episode last week. Steve gave you a little appetizer, if you will, of an episode wherein you talked about the new what's the name of that
Sinners
movie? Sinners. That's right. I knew it had a real generic ass name, but people seem to like it. Sounds like you were lukewarm on it.
It's fine. It's directed by Ryan Coogler, who's done mostly just like Black Panther and Creed, and so it's along those lines of a horror movie. Like, it's a good movie with a message about cultural appropriation, but as a horror movie, it's not that impressive.
Yeah.
So,
well, people are all about it for whatever reason. I'll still check it out. Obviously, I think people are generally positive. And listen, after watching these three absolute dog shit movies for this Showdown this week, I'm looking for anything that doesn't have Freddy in it, basically. But before we do that, we got a couple other things we got to do at the top of the show. Like always, first of all, Steven, I saw you sipping on a beer over there, making some real sourpuss faces. Tell us about your mixed feelings about what you're drinking.
I grabbed 2 beers because the one I'm drinking now I'm not sure about, and I knew I wasn't going to be sure about, but it's from a brewer house out of Youngstown, and it's called Biker Brewing. And this is honestly shaping up. Well, surface level, bad. Yeah.
Youngstown, strike one. I lived in Youngstown for 4 years. Strike one, Youngstown. Strike two, Biker Brewing.
Yeah.
That's a bad name.
Yeah,
is it motorbike? Is it one of them fancy newfangled motorbikes?
Yeah, the logo looks like it should be for like Orange County choppers or something.
That's what I was fearing.
Yeah, it's not good. I picked it up because I had them many years ago at it was like a homebrew festival, and they were kind of featured they were featured at the homebrew festival, and then now I've seen them in cans in the Ohio Eagle that I go to, and I said, well, I have to see if they improved, and they've taken a real big swing in that they made a Dunkel dark lager, and I said, there's no way they could have done that right.
Pulled that off?
Yeah, there's no way they could have done that right. And they did not.
Oh no. Just poor fermentation, recipe all fucked up. What's the situation over there? Yeah, your face makes it look bad. Can I guess what they messed up?
It would be kind of hard for me to know what they messed up. I'll tell you from tasting notes, and maybe you can get from there. Yeah. So the front end is incredibly acrid.
Astringent. I was going to say, my first guess was going to be it's astringent.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredibly acrid up front. And then it, like, on the back end is super, like, toffee and caramel. So it seems like they got a little bit right, but it's like way too sweet for a normal dunkel. But up front, it's so acrid, which is why I keep making the face.
Yeah. So couple things that they probably fucked up. And we actually talked about it on an episode not that long ago, is people who make beers like this, and then they start messing with malts they don't mess with. And then they ultimately they're over extracting them in a variety of reasons, or in a variety of scenarios can result in them over extracting those kind of dark malt characters, which can get real acrid really, really quick. One is over crushing, which is quite common. The other one is your mash pH. You have to make adjustments for your mash pH when you're making dark beers, if you're not used to making dark beers, especially relatively delicate dark beers like a dunkel lager. So if your mash pH is fucked up, if it could be your strike water's fucked up. There's 100 things that could happen to result in you over extracting, but it's the most common mistake especially with like Schwarzbier dunkel that I come across. And then it sounds like the fermentation is dog shit too, because it's obviously under attenuated, because a dunkel should not be sweet. It should not, it should have some Maillard browning characters. There could be some kind of sweet Munich malt character to it, but it shouldn't be cloying. But yeah, these are if you told me a brewery in Youngstown called Biker Brewing made a dunkel, I think I could have guessed what it tasted like without ever tasting it. Having judged a lot of beers from breweries that sound like that.
Yeah, they have a lot of products too. So they're one of those places that just does a whole bunch of recipes, and
I guarantee they have a dog shit Kolsch. Like,
let's see. I see a dog shit Oktoberfest. I see a 12% peanut butter pumpkin thing. Yeah, they have. I mean, okay. Kickstand Kolsch. There's their dog shit Kolsch. So yeah, yeah. But I went to their website to look up, like, just to see if I could actually find any of the things that go into this lager. And it just says traditional dark German lager, but it does say it has notes of toffee and chocolate, and it's like, well, it's there, but it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, they probably, I mean, also, you just use too much of those specialty malts. You can very easily dominate. I mean, that beer should be, I mean, you can go different variations of dunkel. I've made ones that are, primarily Pilsner malt that are fantastic. I've used ones that are literally 100% Munich malt. So you can go in a lot of different directions. But anyway, enough with my fucking beer schnobbery. I am not doing anything particularly special over here. I'm drinking on some Pilsner Cal. I was going to I've been itching for some Summerfest. Sierra Nevada Summerfest is out, one of my favorite seasonals of the year. I was going to try to sneak out before we started recording, but I was trying to get some yard work done, mowed the grass. Then I got into this project where I was digging holes. Listen, don't worry about why I was digging holes. Frankly, none of your fucking business. But I was digging holes. And then I was like, all right, now I'm all covered in dirt. I got to get a shower before we record this here podcast. So I didn't get a chance to sneak out. Didn't get to sneak out and get some beer. So I'm drinking on what I have in the fridge, which of course is always Pilsner Cal, and you can never go wrong with it. But I do have a little backup Miller Lite here for afterwards. What's your second beer? I forgot you mentioned you had a second beer.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I switched because I'm just not even gonna drink that dunkel. Fuck it. It's bad. I'm not gonna do that to myself anymore. The other beer I pulled out was from Great Lakes, and it's their Cookie Exchange Milk Stout. And this is fine. This is great. It just tastes like a creamy milk stout. It actually has like a big vanilla nose on it, but it's not like overly sweet or overpowering. And it's only 5.5%. So this is perfectly fine.
I have not drank anything from Great Lakes in quite a while, with the exception of Nosferatu, which I think I did grab a 4-pack of or whatever it was this past spooky season. Man, came into my discovered really craft beer in a lot of ways, drinking Great Lakes in college. And then was always a big fan, spent a lot of time in the brewery, and then it went downhill pretty dramatically. But I think they're changing some things up over there. I know they did some rebranding with their packaging. So I don't know, gotta listen, I'm never gonna fully give up on Edmund Fitzgerald. One of my all-time favorite beers, Dortmunder Gold. Like I said, they've went up and down in quality throughout the year, but it's been a while. But now you got me thinking about Eddie Fitz. I'm getting psyched on it.
It's been a while.
All right. But we're not just talking about beer all night tonight. We got dog shit movies to do, but we also got a couple things we got to do at the top of the show already. It is time to spin that motherfucking wheel, because normally we would have done it last week, but last week's episode got all fucked up because of storms and poor decisions on my part. So before we get into Showdown, we're going to spin that son of a bitchin' spinny ass wheel for the Showdown episode for next month, guys, which holy shit, it's going to be June, believe it or not. We are of course doing the May Showdown episode today, and then we're going to spin this wheel. And while Steve brings that up, let me explain to you what a Showdown episode is. Okay, so we give you some spicy, salty, sticky, sweet content on the internet every damn Monday. However, the first Monday of every month, in this unique scenario, the second Monday of the month, we do what's called a Showdown episode. And what that is, we got a big old spinny ass wheel. And that spinny ass wheel has a whole shitload of topics on it. Those topics could be horror subgenres. They could be performers. They could be whatever, weird tropes. But it is some specific topic. We spin it 3 times. We get those 3 topics. We put it on our social medias for our listeners and social media friends to vote on which one they want us to do for the following month. Then once we get a topic, myself, Steven, and our guest, or if we don't have a guest that month, oftentimes we have our collective Patreon community, our patrons on Patreon, will choose a movie, which is exactly what we're doing here for May. We talk about those movies. We argue. We have a good old fashioned barn burner, a motherfucking slobber knocker. Someone's going to get a fucking, classic D'Lo Brown steel chest plate frog splash. Perhaps someone will end up getting a motherfucking, Pearl River plunge. Who knows? But somebody is going to get finished off, and ultimately, we'll vote. Somebody's going to take home that Sumbutch Championship strap for the month, and then they get to do all types of nasty things to the other guests, or the other hosts, whether that be certainly a punishment episode, but also they get a lot of other things like choosing the order for the next showdown, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how that works. Like I said, for May, we're doing the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, because we've already done this topic one time before and we already did all the good movies. This month, today, the episode you're listening to, we're going to talk about the absolute dregs of the franchise. We're going to talk about part 2, part 4, and part 6. So we're really laying into those even numbers, and my God, they are all shit. This is the winner is going to be, as my late grandfather would say, the winner. It's a real prom queen at welding school situation here. This situation. He was in his 90s and very sexist. So that's what we have going on for this showdown. But we're about to do it for June already, believe it or not. So let's spin that wheel 3 times, figure out what's potentially on the docket for us for the lovely month of June.
As it spins, I wanted to bring up that boy, that's great that you just remembered Ahmed Johnson, because I don't think anybody remembers Ahmed Johnson, and he needs that because he was one of the most dog shit wrestlers that ever was on TV.
He looked great. I mean, he looked like an action figure.
Oh,
he
yeah,
looked like
double
a
knee
He-Man
pad.
action figure. Double knee pad. I mean, He had the hugest like the broadest shoulders, giant chest. He had the cardio of like a fucking like
he has the
cardio. Really?
Yeah. I was gonna say he had the cardio that I do now. He started sweating instantly.
Yeah, and he would gas out and just like couldn't pick his feet up off the mat. He was dog shit in the ring. But he did weirdly get like a really heavy push for like 9 months in like the mid 90s, and I don't know why. They did this whole like racist thing of like, remember his whole thing is he was from Pearl River, Mississippi, and he was like wasn't it like he didn't have any parents, he was like an orphan or something that got brought in to like the Crips or something. It was like a street gang took him in, and it was like some really really racist shit. I think
it was supposed to be like this weird feel-good story of like he reformed himself from being a thug, and then he fought the Nation of Domination, who were the bad guys, and they like white people were supposed to hate them for being in the Black Power, but then it was kind of hard to, because they had The Rock and they had D'Lo Brown and they had Mark Henry, Sexual Chocolate. The only person some people weren't sold on was Farouk, but I like Farouk too, so I don't know. I love the Nation. You ever see that gif of the kid who's just holding up the Black Power fist? He's like a little white kid, and he's like 10 years old.
Chubby little white kid.
Yeah, that would have been me.
Yeah, I was a big fan, and I actually think that might have been before even like Sexual Chocolate or even Kamala or anything like that. I think it was just literally like Ron Simmons, D'Lo Brown, and then there was like some random ass white guy. I mean, this was before like Owen Hart or anything was tied to them. But who was the other random ass white guy who was in the Nation early on?
No, I don't think there was ever a white guy. There was only well,
Owen Hart eventually wasn't he? Like had a quick moment.
Owen Hart was eventually towards the end of the Nation. But
oh god, I have to look this up.
The only other guy was Kama Mustafa, who would later be the Godfather and was Papa Shango beforehand.
Yeah, but I know we're devolving here into something completely different. Yeah. The earliest incarnation of the Nation of Domination, who was it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I do remember also one thing was Ron Simmons, famous, who played Farouk, who was doing the character Farouk at this time. Famous, like, first of all, D1 athlete, football player, like was drafted into the NFL. I think he had knee problems or something, never played, but like famous real life badass, like, and like backstage enforcer, something Ahmed Johnson did. And then I think like, didn't Ron Simmons like shoot on him really hard in the ring and just like humble him really bad, and it just like fucking ruined his whole career. I forget.
Yeah, there's a good chance he fucking sandbagged him and fucking made him look like shit. And like, like he said, Ahmed Johnson couldn't even get off his feet, so it didn't matter. He could have just tripped him. Anyway,
back to it, guys. Modern slashers, not Nation of Domination. Our first one here is a great topic, which we've done before, but one that we could probably do 10 times.
Right.
Is modern, I'm writing it down here, slashers. So, a little bit room for interpretation here, but I think last time we talked about something in the last, like, it was like the last 20 years, or maybe it was like post 2000s. I forget exactly how we figured it out, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Yeah.
All right.
It was definitely like you had done Mike Flanagan's Hush, and I did the Town That Dreaded Sundown remake. So there was both of those that came up. But yeah, it's mostly, I think we're talking mostly, I think we even maybe defined it post Scream.
Oh, I think you're right. I think we might have went post Scream. So it wasn't necessarily 2000s, but it was post Scream.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Next up, this could potentially be a tough one.
Yeah.
Although I do not think it has any chance of beating modern slashers, which is Herschel Gordon Lewis, the godfather of gore, if you will. Herschel Gordon Lewis. And there's no way that's going to win. And also, I have learned in recent years, as I've went back and watched some of his movies, he really only has like 2 good movies. He has a lot of influential movies. Yeah. He did things for the first time, but a lot of his movies do be unwatchable. Sorry to the hardcore HGL fans out there. But all right, so number 2 is Herschel Gordon Lewis, which has no chance. So let's see if anything is going to go up against modern slashers in the voting. Ooh, gosh, I know what I'm rooting for.
Same.
But we'll see if it happens. The last one here is Korean horror, which is chef's kiss. A lot of fantastic things we could talk about in Korean horror, and it's not even like just specifically Korean slashers or Korean ghosts. We can do anything.
Yeah,
sky's the limit for Korean horror. So, okay, to recap. Check out on the social medias this week. Usually we do it like midweek on the Instagram, on the Blue Sky, and then Steve's been putting on the Patreon, the free Patreon. Is it on the free trial thing, or is it just on the?
Well, no.
Subscribers.
Let's get into patreon.com/Halloween is forever, and we can just tell everybody how it works.
Sure.
So the way you'll be able to vote on Instagram, and you'll be able to vote on Threads. And then because that Blue Sky and Facebook don't have poll things set up, what I've done is I've created an open Discord channel, and I'll put up links to that open Discord channel that you can get on and vote. But if you're a patron and you're a paying patron, you get an even extra vote on top of that.
Yeah.
And you're already a part of the Discord, because patrons also get access to all our private Discord channels, including the recording studio, where you get to come in and you can see episodes happen live, and you can interact with us, and you get to send little messages, and we'll talk to you back, or we'll bring you up on the show, and whatever you have to add. So that's another reason to sign up for that. On top of all that, you get exclusive monthly podcasts, and you get a whole bunch of reviews and recos that I write up. So you get all kinds of extra goodies, little yum-yums, just fun little things.
Little finger lickers, so it's what I like to call them. I do not call them that. I regretted saying it as soon as it came out of my mouth. But I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, if you want some extra little finger lickers, come on over to the Patreon, because we have... I don't know, freaking 100 hours of additional bonus content of us talking about literally all the Fast and the Furious movies. About 10 episodes of dog shit, like Christian right-wing propaganda horror movies. And now we're getting into our current series, which is 90s is Forever, which we're talking about weird, forgotten 90s comedy movies, all of which having some sort of like weird... sometimes very obvious, sometimes very tenuous connection with horror as well.
Yeah.
So, okay. That is a lot of things at the top of the show for a Showdown episode, but we had a little catching up to do. So, you know what? It's free. It's free, guys.
Yeah. Plate's clean. Yeah. You got a whole bunch of stuff. You got to learn a whole bunch. Just a quick recap. Brian doesn't have a toe. Youngstown can't brew beer. We got 3 movies coming up. Sign up for the Patreon.
There you go. There you go. Now let's jump into the Showdown episode. So let me refresh everyone for those of you who weren't around when we were voting, picking our movies and that sort of thing from the last time around. Like I said, we had already done the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, wherein obviously we had a little bit of a gentleman's agreement where we were not going to do the first one because we all agreed that the first movie in the franchise is the best, and then everything goes downhill after that. However, whenever we did it the first time around, I picked Dream Warriors, which is my second favorite in the franchise. Steve, you did you do Freddy versus Jason? You did New Nightmare. Yeah, which is also a fun one. And then Meg did Freddy versus Jason. That's the whole franchise, guys. Those 4 movies are the only ones that are watchable. So when you dumbass shitbirds No matter what we told you, we urged you, do not do this. You're going to regret it, and it's going to hurt us physically and emotionally. There are no good movies left in the franchise. You guys, here's my impression of you guys, the listeners. I'm going to vote anyway. You fucking did it, you rats. And we ended up having to pick 3 more movies from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Let me repeat, there are no more good movies, let alone 3. So here's what we ended up with is I picked the next one up, which was Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the number 4, The Dream Master from 1988. The only reason I did that is because it's closest to Dream Warriors, and you actually get a little bit of the characters from Dream Warriors. Steve picked, God knows why, Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare from 1991. And
what do you mean, God knows why? There's literally no other choices. I would have picked the Dream Master had you not picked it.
I understand. 6. I forgot. And I know we talked about how we kind of forgot about what 6 was about. I can't believe how bad 6 is. Spoiler alert, I can't believe how bad 6 is. Can't believe it even exists.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it in the sense
you're high.
Maybe, but in the sense of like, it's kind of like Jason Lives. It is
wacky. It's wacky.
It's wacky.
It's fun. It'll be fun to talk about. It's not fun to watch. And then one of the most bizarre sequels, especially a follow-up from an acclaimed film that kicked off the franchise. The Patreons, they picked A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge from 1985. So going all the way back to the second one. All right. So because our guests, one of our guests won last Showdown, but because I was, Steve was generous enough to say that I was closest to winning, which I think from a voting perspective was true, but we both lost. I ended up picking first this last time around. Technically, I get to pick who goes first in this episode, of the order in which we talk about these movies. I think we should do this. I think I should kick it off. I'm going to kick it off with part 2.
Oh, okay.
To get the Patreons out of the way.
Sure.
And this is completely so you guys don't have to hear my voice as much. Then or as consecutively as much. And then you do yours, and then I'll finish it up. How's that sound?
Works for me.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And this was our patrons pick. How familiar, Steve, were you with this movie prior to this viewing?
So this one I remembered pretty well. And if you remember going back to the episode where we were choosing movies, I was in a toss-up between this one and Freddy's Dead. And this one obviously got a bit of like social media resurgence because of like people discovering that it has like this kind of gay undertone to it. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't allow myself to be swayed by that because in my heart, I knew this was still a dumb, shitty, bad movie. And I said, I'm not going to be swayed by that, and I'm not going to choose that. And I think the only thing I have left now to do is to go back and watch The Dream Child. Mm-hmm. But none of us picked The Dream Child. Not me, not you, not the patrons. So either that movie is overlooked or it is as bad as I remember it. So yeah, other than that, it's always been in my mind. This franchise is 1, 3, New Nightmare, and Freddy vs. Jason, like we said. Yeah. And in my opinion, you're 100% right. I've watched Dream Child more recently than this, although I will say I think I would probably prefer anything to 6. The Dream Child, I'm really tipping my hand here, but the Dream Child is bad, but it's not 6 bad, and it's
it maybe isn't even too bad, but 2 at least has some really wacky shit to talk about, and actually has like some characters you weirdly care about. But anyway, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, talking about. We have to talk about the cast, but I'm going to talk. Let's just mention Jack Shoulder directed this. He's directed quite a few things. Honestly, not a ton that I've seen. He a movie called The Hidden from 1987 that stars Kyle MacLachlan in what looks like he's dressed like he's doing a Twin Peaks movie, but it's probably some sort of cop movie. He did do Alone in the Dark, 1982. I know I've seen that, but don't know much about it. And he did one of the Wishmaster movies, the second one, which I kind of have a weird, maybe soft spot for the Wishmaster movies. They're really bad. They're really bad, but they're fun.
1 and 2 are pretty good. So,
yeah.
I mean, especially 1. 1 is a legitimately good movie. 2 is get a little wacky. 3 and 4 are abysmal.
Yeah. But he also did a movie that I watched quite a bit. And I want to say it's because it played on like the Turner channels occasionally when I was a kid, but it also seems like the type of movie that we would have rented, from on VHS from the Eagle Video or something like that. But it's a movie called Renegades that has a fantastic cast, including Kiefer Sutherland, starring Kiefer Sutherland and Lou Diamond Phillips, which how can you fucking go wrong with those two, first of all? And then Jamie Gertz, who, I mean, I've literally had a crush on since I first watched Lost Boys. So when I was, 6. But I have not seen it in probably, 25, 30 years. So I'm eager to go back and watch it because it's probably dog shit, but I really loved it as a kid. But yeah, that's really the only thing that jumped out at me from his 18 films that he directed.
Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland looks like fucking Tom Atkins in this film.
He does. Well, he's got the stash and the same fucking haircut as like peak Tom Atkins. All right. So getting back to Nightmare on Elm Street 2, obviously the great Robert Englund in this movie. Weirdly enough, two of the movies we're going to talk about today, part 2 and part 6, are probably the most between 1 and 2. I'm going to say 2 might even be the least screen time for Freddy of any movie in this franchise. And 6 is, you can't get him off the screen in 6. So aside from maybe Freddy versus Jason, which it is split up,
that one's pretty even.
Freddy alone. Yeah. Freddy alone versus Jason alone sequences, but there's extended fight scene, as everybody's aware of. But we have Mark Patton as Jesse Walsh, whom you may have seen. Steve, you mentioned it's kind of come to the forefront a little bit in recent years because this is like a very surface level, gay allegory here, but also mental illness and like mental health in general, and like the stigmas around both, actually. So this whole script has a very odd message that I don't fully understand and don't know if it is a positive thing or icky. I'm not really sure, but we'll talk about it here. But there's a documentary about the making of this movie, and I think it focuses. I watched it when it first came out, but I don't remember it wholly. And focuses around the experience of Mark Patton as a young gay actor playing a straight ? Character, which it couldn't be less straight, but and his experience throughout this, which was a very, very harrowing, kind of wacky experience. I would say besides gratuitous Clu Gallagher and I think that's probably the only person I think I'll call out here. We'll talk about the individual characters, but I don't necessarily, there's no one else that pops out that I'm like, I love this person and it's an unbelievable performance. I will say Kim Myers, who is in, I think several, at least one, if not multiple of the Hellraiser movies, because I know we've talked about her on those. And a lot of like kind of teen drama-y type of things. When she was a kid, she looked like a young Meryl Streep. Very, very strikingly like a young Meryl Streep, which I completely had forgot about until I watched this again. But I don't know if there's anybody else worth calling out. Anybody else you want to talk about here?
Not really. No. Yeah. You mentioned Clu Gulager and yeah. No, not really. Everybody else is not. No, I don't think anybody else really went on to be of note. I'll say.
Yeah. This is a pretty low profile cast, which is it's not necessarily a bad thing. But anyway, we'll get into some details here. So first of all, we have this reoccurring thing as like Freddy as a school bus driver, and really Robert Englund, because Freddy with all the makeup and everything is of course played by Robert Englund. But then Robert Englund, of course, plays Freddy in a couple of these movies when he is either disguising himself as a human or is just pre his, transformation into Freddy and before he swallowed the skeleton sperms, which we'll talk about later. So Freddy, or I should say Robert Englund, is the school bus driver. You've got this weird kid right off the bat. This opening scene is bonkers because you got this weird kid. You don't know who he is. And he's sweaty and kind of panicky. There's some shitty girls on the bus. Otherwise, it's just completely empty. And they just start speeding up. They realize they're locked on the bus. Like the windows won't open, nothing. Which also, he's like really focused on the windows. But like, what are you going to do? You can jump out that window and the bus is going like 70 miles an hour. Seems aggressive. But they just blast off into the desert. And then there's like... This is a hallmark of a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, is just like sensory overload in the first 10 to 15 minutes. So you get like blast off into the desert. You don't know who these kids are. Spontaneous fucking electrical storm. Like the bus has like weird teeth too. Like it's an evil bus all of a sudden. The bus like ends up launching like to a stop, and then the earth all like crumbles away below it, and then all of a sudden the bus is suspended under these two like super tall but thin like pillars of rock. So imagine the bus just suspended like, I don't know, hundreds of feet up in the air on these like swaying, fragile looking little pillars of rock. And all of a sudden Freddy's on the bus. You're like, it's 120 seconds into the movie. Like it just takes you for a ride right off the bat.
But they needed to do this because like there's after this, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So
for a long time.
Yeah. So they needed this like quick start. And like you're saying, it's sensory overload, but like at least that's the one thing I've noticed about these films is that they do when they're in the dream world, at least the dream world isn't boring. Like that's the one thing you can say about these movies, even though they're all stupid and barely make any sense. At least the dream world acts like a dream world and is crazy and has some fun to it.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot going on every single time you're in the dream world, and it moves fast, and it's hard. Maybe it's hard to keep up with, and you don't know why things are happening. But yeah, at least you're not bored then. But there's plenty of other boring parts. But Freddy pops in. Then they're down to one pillar and they're going to fall. And Freddy's kind of like moving around and seesawing on the bus. And he's like stalking the three kids to the back of the bus. And just as he's about to like slash them with his Freddy glove, we cut to like a tomato being sliced. And Jesse, we learn, was the lone guy on the bus. He screams himself awake and he is drenched in sweat, which is a theme that we will see. This guy sweats like he's a fucking goalie. Like he's in goalie pads all the time.
Like he's Ahmed Johnson.
Sweat. He does. He sweats like fucking Ahmed Johnson every time he sleeps. We learn why. There's a potentially good reason for that. But holy shit, is he sweaty. He's in his dad briefs. And first of all, and this is not, I'm not saying this is a joke. I'm not saying in any manner of like derogatory way. This movie is the gayest movie I've ever seen. This movie makes Porky's look not gay. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This is the gayest movie of all time. And for people who like, again, I'm not going to get the whole way into it. There's obviously they do a much better job of talking about it in the Scream Queens documentary, which you should check out. But it is this very surface level gay allegory, which is kind of like the red herring is that it's actually about mental health. And so now in 2025, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, what are you alluding to here? That like homosexuality is like a mental health thing, or that gay kids disproportionately have mental health issues because of like the stigmas in, I don't know. Like it's difficult to get in the mindset of the person writing this script in 1985 or whatever, but
right.
It's very confusing and resonates, but doesn't hold up at all. It's very strange.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. And I feel like they tried to slip the gay allegory. Like they kind of tried to hide it like a pill in peanut butter, and using the mental health, storyline as peanut butter. And I don't think they really thought through what that equation adds up to. Because for me, like, this film reads a lot more of like an AIDS scare movie in that you have Jesse, who, is like, he's obviously gay and he struggles with, he has a girlfriend, but he struggles with his reality. And, there's another, openly gay character that they, open is in quotes, because like everybody knows he's gay, but nobody talks about it. And, the two men Jesse interacts with are two men who die at his hands, essentially. Yeah. And so like, it's basically putting out this, sense that like, oh, Jesse, carries AIDS and he kills the people that are around him.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
And
that
then
could be that.
And then the big, the big finish to the film is that, the big climactic scene is like this party full of teens who are all trying to have sex, and then AIDS shows up and scares them. Is what is like is the way it reads.
Literally, like, yeah, that's great. That's true. That's a true point. I and maybe it, I'm having a hard time looking at this through the lens of 1985, because I was literally born in 1985, so wasn't around for obviously the AIDS scare and everything. But looking at it through the 2025 lens is it's hard to follow, because it is, like I said, it's I don't know. We'll get into some. We don't need to unpack the whole thing. We'll get into it as we kind of dig a little deeper. But
there's more that doesn't work, and like the ending doesn't gel with everything else, because the ending is essentially straight love wins. And that doesn't
that's
gel.
Why there's like 3 or 4 things that, like, as you start to get into the movie, you're like, oh, this is like wildly progressive for 1985. And then as you get more in, I'm like, this is like not passing the smell test too in like certain areas. So that's anyway, we'll progress through it. So there's also just really strange gags, and this is weird because this is why the first one is my favorite in the franchise, because Freddy's scary in the first movie, right? And Freddy is a little bit in this movie as well, although he's not on screen a lot. But this is the first one that really introduces the silliness of the franchise, because it gets extremely silly. I mean, we're going to talk about a scene where it's, children are pizza toppings later, and then Steve has literally just Looney Tunes bits the entire movie. But this starts to introduce that silliness where it's like, for some reason, the little sister, Jesse's little sister, is eating a cereal called Fu Manchus, and it's like a racist imagery of like an Asian person on the cereal box. Like, where does that come from? Who thought that was funny? But so you get a lot of those types of things. Anyway, Lisa shows up. Lisa is Jesse's beard. They have no romantic chemistry at all for the first 3/4 of the movie. And then later on, Jesse forces himself to try to have a physical sexual encounter with Lisa, who she's obviously welcoming it, but he's resistant to it. And it's just a very awkward scene we'll talk about later. But up until this point, there's absolutely nothing that would suggest that there's a romantic relationship. There's also, it's something that the movie is aware of, because Lisa's friend, who we'll get to in a sec. I wrote her name down, but I haven't got to it yet. She is also pestering Lisa, hey, Lisa, have you banged your gay boyfriend yet? That's the subtext. And she's like, no, not yet. It's very strange. But we get introduced to Lisa. They're driving to school. And there's this character, Grady, whom you immediately think is going to be the jock bully to Jesse. And he is to a certain extent, but their relationship is so confusing because Jesse gets beamed with a softball during gym class. Then he's depantsed. So we're seeing just dude butt right off the bat. Again, it's just Porky's vibes, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're meant to do a bunch of dirty, sweaty push-ups together and then take a shower together. And you think that it's going to be a bully versus bullying victim situation, but they have this mutual respect and kind of jocular, flirtatious relationship that persists throughout, to the point, but it persists behind the scenes, to the point where later on, just all of a sudden, it feels like they're in a romantic relationship out of nowhere. But if you look back, it's not really out of nowhere. It's they kind of, it feels like this has always kind of been how they've been together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They even after their first fight, their first tussle together, they're in the locker room together, and Jesse's like, so what, are you just going to bully me now or whatever? And Grady's like, no, I was just killing time. He just took his pants down and fought him just because he was bored. Yeah. Is what he essentially says. So yeah, there's no animosity. They keep getting in trouble, fighting each other, or physically fighting each other, arguing, but then it's then they're fine. Yeah. It's essentially Grady is doing the thing that, when you're much younger and you don't understand how to process your feelings towards girls, mm-hmm. you would pull their hair. Or it's that Grady is chasing Jesse around the playground. Yeah. Yeah. To kick dirt on him and pull his hair because has a crush on him. That is how it reads. 100%. Yeah. But then over top of this, there's tons of homophobia, outward homophobia, comments about people being derogatory comments about people being gay. There's a lot of a lot of sexual tension. It's an enormously sexually charged environment. Yeah. And it's really, Jesse's sexuality specifically is up against a lot. You actually feel for the character, but you're also confused about what he wants. So you're which he's supposed to be confused as a character,
but you don't really know what to root for because you don't really know what he wants. But he's very sympathetic because it's just like everything he does has like a magnifying glass on it. So early on in the movie, you're like, oh, you feel for this character. This feels like a very progressive, if not, like I said, subtext, but like knowing it's 1985, it feels pretty progressive. But again, hold on to your hats because it goes in some weird directions. Jesse wakes up again. He's always waking up very sweaty. Wakes up, wanders outside, sees like Freddy burning something in like his basement or pulling something out of like the furnace. He's also wearing hospital scrubs, which for a quick second, I'm like, wait, does he work in a hospital? I don't remember that part of it, but that's just one of the strange little confusing decisions that are made in this movie. Freddy comes up and confronts Jesse and tells him like, you've got the body and I've got the brains, and then like reveals his brain, like pulls his scalp back to reveal his brain. But of course that was a dream. So now there's this thing about like Freddy, who is the embodiment of evil, like controlling Jesse's body, which again is very loaded. But just like Jesse, and just like every kid in this franchise, Jesse is tired because he doesn't sleep well because, you know, Freddy's terrorizing him in his dreams or he's trying to stay awake or whatever. So everyone's always tired, which is very exciting. Nothing more exciting than tired people. But Jesse is napping in class. And then the teacher is like got a big raw heart. Like it's just very cartoonish. But then Jesse like has this dream that there's a snake crawling around his neck. No, just kidding. It's a real snake wrapping around Jesse's neck in class.
Yeah. He wakes up screaming and then nobody questions, like nobody saw him get up and get the snake. Nobody questions why he did, if he did. And nobody questions where the snake came from if he just pulled it out of his dream. But there's already a terrarium for it.
Yeah, there's a terrarium there. But then also, after Jesse screams and like embarrasses himself and stuff, embarrasses himself, then Jesse kind of thinks it's funny. Like he's laughing with the students. So like the weird thing about this movie is everything Jesse does, knowing all we know about horror movie tropes, and not even just horror movies, just like teen angsty drama, comedy, any type of like teen movie, is you're scared of being embarrassed. You're scared of looking dumb in front of your peers. Jesse seemingly doesn't have like very much of that in the real world. In his dreams, he does. But in the real world, Jesse is like very self-aware and self-confident, and like wildly embarrassing things happen to him and he just kind of shrugs them off. Like the whole, you know, gym class saw his ass earlier and he's like kind of doesn't really bother him. And then it's like this snake ordeal. Like he laughs with there's a quick cut of him like laughing with everyone else about his funny snake ordeal. It's a really weird, confusing vibe. Then like this, just a hell of an unpacking montage. Like Jesse's parents, we'll just mention, they are the parents you would expect. The mom who's just kind of like ineffectual and like pretending things are not the way they are so she can just avoid them and they'll end up okay. The dad who's like just classic mid-century dad, like almost cartoonishly so, where he's like, well, he must be on drugs and he just needs a swift kick in the pants, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. Kluge is such a fucking dork in this movie.
He is. We should mention the aforementioned Kluge. He gets a lot of screen time, by the way, which I love him. He's great in everything. Yeah. But he is just the most stereotypical square, cartoonishly square dad.
Yeah. That's one of the things that makes this movie weird and hard to square all of the messages they're trying to put together, is that, you know, we keep mentioning how Freddy doesn't actually have a lot of screen time in this film. And that's because they're doing almost like Poltergeist with a lot of the home stuff, because they're treating the home almost as haunted because they moved into Nancy's house.
I should have said that. Yep.
Yeah. So they moved into Nancy's house because Clu Gulager got a good deal on it. And, they're essentially now doing Poltergeist in this movie after Poltergeist, by a year, I guess. And so the house is constantly overheating. Fucking birds, their dumbass birds explode for no reason.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
Really, it's a kooky scene.
What a wacky thing. But all of this stuff that happens in Jesse's home life is reflective of like the tumultuousness of their home life, but it has like no bearing on the rest of the messages. It's just the fact that the parents can't deal with their son, that they don't understand his issue. It doesn't, but it's still, I don't know, it just doesn't line up with the rest of the messaging though, because it's weird for it to be a haunted house film while also being a Freddy film.
Well, it's weird because the hauntedness, if you will, is coming from things Freddy is doing,
right? Which
are like planting the seeds to make, we'll talk about, but basically make Jesse his like protege kind of, which is part of the confusing thing about like what really was the subtext of the message around Jesse's sexuality. But I mean, it's so on the nose that everything is about Jesse's sexuality that it's impossible to think. If you've never seen this movie, you might be thinking like, wow, they're really reading into this sexuality thing a lot. No. It is so unbelievably surface level. There is a unpacking montage where Jesse's dad, because they just moved into this house, like you said, sends Jesse upstairs to unpack. And he's supposed to go meet Lisa. He's like, no, dickhead, you got to go unpack. I've told you 100 times. He goes upstairs. He's by himself, and it's like the only time he's like in tune with his sexuality or whatever, because he's literally twerking. He's like, he has like one of those old-fashioned pop guns that he's like jacking off with and like humping and like popping the popper out of it like he's jizzing his room clean.
But he's also like, holding it up to his mouth too. Like he's two-fisting it at his mouth.
It is. It's not none of this we're reading into. It is thrust into your face. Then Lisa randomly shows up, and again, she watches him because he has these wacky glasses off. He's doing all these very performative sexual things as he's cleaning his room. And Lisa's watching him, but then when she sees him, like, he's only embarrassed for like 4 seconds. And then he's like, yeah, that's just how I clean my room. That's just me being me. You know what I mean? So it's just like, he's not embarrassed or really that troubled by it, which is weird. Not weird, but weird in the context of everything else this movie seems to be trying to tell you. Anyway, she shows up. She helps him clean up the room. They find Nancy's diary because, again, this is Nancy Thompson from the first movie. This is supposedly her house or her family's house. And then Nancy's like talking about her sexuality too, but then also like she's mixing the sex with the violence because there's also the like Nancy talking about Freddy and all this stuff, and you're starting to get some clues that something do be kind of wild with this house. So Jesse tells Grady what Grady says about Freddy. He's like, wait, you don't know about Freddy? So Grady kind of tells him the story about that. So he starts to put the Nancy diary, what Grady tells him together. Now he's starting to get a clue of what happened. So he does the whole wake up sweating again. I think it's already like the third time. But this so much so that like it's not just he's sweating. The room is physically hot. Like there's like a vinyl record that's like literally melting. Like his lamp is melting. So the room is physically hot. So it's not just him. He, of course, puts on a sweatsuit, goes downstairs, and he finds Freddy's glove in the furnace. And Freddy does not pull any punches. He does not mince words about what he wants him to do. He's like, kill for me.
Yeah.
and like, hey, put on the glove, kill for me. So Freddy wants him to be his, like it says, protege or something like that. But by the way, Carrie is Lisa's like kind of party girlfriend. And they're talking, whatever. Lisa's gonna have a party this weekend, and Lisa, we should say, is like fucking, her parents are loaded. Like they have a crazy pool and giant like croquet and tea sandwiches type of setup at their house. Like they're super loaded. Yeah,
the pool is in ground. That's how you know they're rich in the 80s.
Yeah,
or even today, really. Actually, I mean, like, who has an in-ground pool? Not me.
Listen, I have an in-ground pool, but it's not that. It's not like this. But anyway, so it's 97 degrees in their house, which is hilarious. It's so hot. And it's causing the birds to fucking flip out and then burst into flames. And then which you talked about, the one bird is flying around and it just literally explodes. And you're like, why did that happen? What's going on? The dad like inexplicably blames Jesse, which is one of the funnier scenes in the movie. He's like, I know what happened. You did this. You rigged this up with cherry bombs. It's like, how, sir? Clue? Explain to me how he would have done something like that.
When did he do this? When did he pull this trick? Yeah. And why didn't you see the cherry bomb like lit or attached to him? Like he had to light it for it to go. Like, when did this happen?
Yeah. Anyway, Jesse takes another, sweaty dream trip to like a gay leather goth club. Where his gym teacher, who we talked about, like put him and Grady through the ringer. So it's also like the gym teacher, Grady was talked about how like, oh, he's a sex freak and he wears leather on the weekends at these clubs or whatever. And then in the dream, that is the reality of what's happening. So I'm confused about, this is where the messages start to get a little like uncomfortable and weird of like, okay, so you suggesting the person that the gym teacher, his name's Schneider, I think, or whatever. Mr. Schneider, he's like a deviant gay in the eyes of this movie.
Right.
And he's the one who's kind of like victimizing Grady and Jesse. So I took this as like, are they trying to suggest that like he suffers from mental illness and he's being victimized by this older man and that's what's giving him gay feelings? Like that's me reading into it a lot. That's not surface level, but the fact that the gym teacher is like this kind of psychotic guy who hangs out at like a almost BDSM punk club kind of thing is when things started to go a little sideways for me in the story about like what does this really mean about, what are they trying to tell us about Jesse's sexuality? Because they're trying to tell us something. They're screaming something, but it's all gibberish and we don't know what they're screaming.
Right. And it's all gibberish because it happens in the context of the dream world, but also it isn't the dream world because fucking Schneider dies in this scene and he dies in the way that Jesse imagines it. So we're not like, the dream obviously starts when Jesse gets up from his bed and he goes into his kitchen and his fucking plates get hit by lightning. That's a dream.
Yeah.
We assume.
You got to.
And then he wanders off into the night to the gay club and, the gay club tries to serve him beer and Schneider, catches him and grabs him up by the arm. And then it's a hard cut to the gym where Schneider is still in his gay club outfit, but he's making Jesse run laps in the gym and then take a shower. And
but this is Dream Gym because it's like glowing red Dream Gym.
Right. Yeah. There's a glowing red light in the background that is like coming off somewhere. But Schneider himself.
Well, I also read in this lot because I'm like, is that the locker room and it's glowing red? Is because evil gay shit happens in the locker room? Like that's how I was like, again, this is me reading into it because now at this point I've turned on the movie. So.
Yeah, now they're casting gay people as evil, so it's like, is it?
Yeah.
And then Schneider gets attacked in his office by all the sports equipment. So
great scene, by the way, and I refuse to glance over that scene. We will talk about it more.
I mean, he just gets donked in the head by every ball possible, and for some reason, tennis rackets explode. The strings explode on the tennis rackets.
I mean, this is really what happened. Yeah, I mean, it's not a long conversation, but while Jesse's in the shower, in Schneider's office, sports equipment and like office furniture just begin like spontaneously malfunctioning.
He just gets hit by every ball, like basketball, medicine ball,
tennis ball. Yeah,
it's all
soccer
there.
ball, everything.
Yeah,
all the equipment attacks him. The shelves start attacking him. It's chaos.
And then he gets grabbed up by the jump ropes and dragged into the showers while Jesse's in the showers. And it's a very continuation of like BDSM themes, as like he's strung up in the showers, and then Freddy slashes him on his back, and then Jesse is just naked watching this all happen because he's in the shower with him.
Yeah. Jesse's watching this all happen as Schneider gets whipped on his bare back and balls.
Yeah,
which I could not think about anything except for that Tim Robinson sketch. Who's gonna spank my bare back and balls? But yeah, and then he gets slashed up, and we just like watch him hung up by jump ropes, back all slashed, bare ass in the shower. So it's a very provocative scene, I'll say.
Yeah, and it's 40 minutes in, and this is the first like actual killing we've seen in a Freddy movie. Like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to sit through to just get to this point, and it ends with Jesse's covered in blood, and he has the glove in his hand, so it looks like that he basically gets, even though we saw Freddy do it. It's yeah. He's getting set up for these murders, but never caught. It's very strange. But the cops just deliver him back home. It's pouring down rain, and they explain that he was just like naked out in the highway, and Dad thinks he's on, drugs with a capital Z at the end. And he's like, "What are you on, son?" So it's Clue Gallagher again. It's just milking it. I love it. But so the mom does bring up to the dad, like, he has a problem. Like, should he see a psychiatrist? And he's just like, he just needs a swift kick in the pants, kind of thing. So like they show that the mom is like trying to help, but doesn't know how to deal with it. But the dad is just obviously not trying to help at all. Which suggests that it's more sexuality than mental illness, but I guess it could go either direction. But Jesse gets to school. The cops are everywhere. And they're like, he's like, "What happened?" And Grady's like, "Some maniac came in, hacked him up like a kielbasa," which is a great line. Because when we think of kielbasa, we think of getting hacked up. Like, right? Why kielbasa? I did like the line because it just came so far out of left field. But the glove is in Jesse's desk, so now Jesse's like doesn't trust himself. Is he doing the murders? He's not sure. We get a quick demon toaster. Again, poltergeist shit happening. Yeah. It's just back to the kielbasa. You have to remember, this is Indiana, so we're firmly in the Midwest, and just you have to get into the Midwest mindset of what they're doing with kielbasa. And so I
thought it was Ohio.
No, it's Springwood, Indiana.
Why did I think it was Springwood, Ohio?
I don't know. Because you're wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
famously, not a fan of this franchise.
Because Ohio sucks. So if you're just thinking about where things sucks that happen, Ohio is it.
Could be.
But yeah, no, they're just they're cutting up kielbasa to put it in their beans. So yeah. Yes, Dan in the chat says Indiana is not better. No, it's not. It's where the fucking Klan originates from. So that's the one thing Ohio doesn't have claim to fame. First in flight, second in the Klan, probably.
Man, when I used to drive through I used to drive when I lived in Milwaukee, and I would drive from here to Milwaukee. I'd have to go the whole way across Ohio and the whole way across to Indiana. Not the whole way across to Indiana, but mostly. Holy shit. It was a tough drive. Anyway, so Lisa takes Jesse to Freddy's, famously Freddy's place of employment, which is like it's like I think it's a power plant, right? Where the boiler room is, that every single movie has a showdown in the boiler room. Anyway, Jesse, I guess, almost kills his little sister, but then just decides to take some meth about it. So now Jesse is starting to take uppers to stay awake, because if he goes to sleep, it actually is a really great idea on paper compared to the first movie. And it's really wild that they went right from the first movie, and instead of just doing a rinse and repeat, they went the complete opposite, which is they're not scared of going to sleep for the fear of being killed. He's scared to go to sleep because he'll kill people. Yeah. Which on the surface is a cool twist, I guess. Yeah. The other movie I was thinking about during this, especially when we get to the scene where he's like sort of threatening his sister, I was thinking about Amityville, especially 2, Amityville Horror, the second one. Yeah. Where I believe like the brother like goes on the shotgun rampage and just kills everybody in his house. Like I was thinking about that movie too, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a interesting twist, but it's like, I don't know, they're packing too much into this film, which makes everything muddy, and then not enough happens to explain any of this. Like it like, yeah, I feel like there's a better film, and it's probably called It Follows, that does like the kind of teenage sexual, like, dangers. Yeah. But yeah. Well, the thing with, not to get off on too much, but the thing with the Amityville is they did the first movie, which was super loosely based on the true crime story that inspired it, and then the second one they tried to stick real close to the actual real life crimes, right? Which are not supernatural, are just a guy who shotgunned his family to death. Yeah. But it's rough. It's rough going. That is a franchise that just drops off the fucking face of the planet, doesn't it? Anyway, so funny story. Grady, by the way, favorite character in this movie for me, because he's like the dumb hunk boyfriend. He's like Jesse's dumb hunk boyfriend, right? Yeah, he's a himbo, but like a 70s hunk, where it was like Caddyshack hunk, where you can be 140 pounds soaking wet and still like be viewed as like a physical specimen. Right. But he is grounded because they're like, oh, are you going to Lisa's party? Because this is the big engagement that everyone's going to. Grady, first of all, jamming food in his mouth at a rate that would give like Joey Chestnut a run for his money. He is just slamming food, fully chipmunking, both cheeks full in the cafeteria at school. And they're like, you going to Lisa's party? He's like, nope, no can do. He's like, why? He's like, I'm grounded. He's like, how'd you get grounded? He's like, threw my grandmother down the stairs. Which I don't know if he was kidding, because he doesn't seem smart enough to kid, but he also just completely no-sells it. So he might have been telling the truth. I don't know. It's a great line. Yeah. And also the decision, I don't know if it was an acting decision or a directorial decision, to make him eat like that while he's doing this is so funny. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, you can't get a read on how much he's joking, but because his damn face is so full of food. It's such a funny scene. Anyway, we'll fast forward to the party at Lisa's house. Her parents are rich as fuck. Hold on. Before we do, just quickly before we do. Yeah. That scene ends with him and Jesse having like a lover's spat, in which like Jesse's like, can you just shut up already? And like Grady reacts appropriately of just like, well, fine, fuck you. I'm not going to sit around for this. Like, you're not going to talk to me that way. So, you know, like Grady wanders off. Like, Grady has no interest in sitting around with Lisa and Carrie. You know, he doesn't care about them. The scene started with him and Jesse.
Like they're they're sitting on the same side together like a couple would. And then, he exits the scene after a lover's spat. So like, this is more reinforcement of just like, it's these two guys. It's not Jesse and Lisa.
Yeah. It's so weird because everyone else is pretending Jesse and Lisa are a couple, but Jesse and Lisa are not even pretending they're a couple. But they seem to be feeling the social pressure of others wanting them to be a couple. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, it becomes evident later that like, I don't even think that Lisa necessarily has that much, like feelings for Jesse, romantic feelings for Jesse. She's just doing it more out of like social pressure, because of like all of her waspy friends. Yeah. I mean, she does care about him, mm-hmm. and she's like sexually attracted to him. She's like coming on to him, but it also feels like she's like kind of, I don't know, just acquiescing to like the social pressure as well. But anyway, we'll get to the scene here in a second. But so yeah, party at Lisa's house. Lisa and Jesse, like Jesse's having like a mental fucking breakdown, right? And Lisa's trying to help him, and she has like genuine concern, and she's trying to like tell like, you can open up to me. So it feels like it's a friend that's like, just, we all know you're gay. Just say it and we can just have it out in the open and move past it. But instead, they have like a passionate, like a kiss, and then they start fooling around on the floor. And then Jesse's like she's into it. She's on the floor. He's like feeling her up, kind of like he's going to like go down on her almost, but like, it almost feels like reluctant, like he's trying to do this against his will a little bit. It's a very strange scene. Meanwhile, the party's kind of getting wild out there. And then as Jesse's like, because the parents went to bed, everyone's drinking, things are kind of getting wild. People are, banging in the pool, whatever. And then all of a sudden, as Jesse's kind of kissing down her torso, he just has this big wacky gray tongue pop out. And obviously she doesn't see it. He sees it, and then just literally just runs to Grady's room, just leaves, runs to Grady's house, locks himself in Grady's room. Grady's in bed in his underwear, of course, and grounded, and is like about to go to sleep, and then has this like big, very confusing confession to Grady. And Grady's just like, cool, man. And the confession is like a non-confession. He doesn't say anything aside from, he's like, I'm scared of myself, basically. He doesn't say like, Freddy's working through me, I'm killing people. He just has this big rambling monologue, and Grady's like, cool, man, whatever. And then he's like, just make sure I'm going to sleep, and if I start doing anything wacky in my sleep, wake me up. And Grady's like, gotcha, I'm on board. Grady immediately fails at his task because Jesse's falls asleep. Grady doesn't wake him up. His like arm starts transforming into Freddy's arm, with the glove, obviously. And then there's like an eye down his throat, and like Freddy physically pops out of Jesse's chest, which is a alarmingly I don't know, just really optimistic thing for them to think they can pull off. But I like the audacity that they went to pull that off. They kind of doesn't work, but like they tried to bring to life what was in the script.
Yeah, yeah. The kind of chest prosthetic that they have to slash across looks exactly like silly putty, and it's like, it's like, well, okay. I mean, you kind of got it because they're aping from the first film where Freddy pushes his face through the wall, but now he's pushing his face through Jesse's chest. And it's like, that could be cool, but I don't know. It's 85. You missed, but you tried. You missed, but you tried.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Jesse does kill Grady, of which he's, of course, very upset by. He is kind of like framed for it because he's got the glove and everything on, but then he's never caught. So he just leaves, goes back to Lisa's house, or maybe it's his. I think it's his house, and Lisa comes to his house.
He goes back to Lisa's house because.
Well, doesn't Carrie go to him, go find him or whatever? Like when they're sitting by the pool, and then Lisa leaves her own party to go find him.
No, they're just inside Lisa's house, like in the front room, because this is where the party starts getting attacked as well. So,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a thing where like Freddy's in two places at once. I think it's, Freddy is causing all this mayhem because how this all ends is Freddy jumps out the bay windows and then explodes out like the pool filter or whatever. I don't the pool shed.
Jesse does confess to Lisa that like I killed Grady, but he's kind of like distraught and all freaked out. And she like kind of doesn't believe him. Meanwhile, at the party, Freddy is getting ready to attack. Hot dogs bursting into flames, beer cans popping, padlocks locking, fish tanks boiling. Just like wacky shit is happening. The heat increasing thing. This is like I don't know why. I knew why it was happening at Jesse's house because of the whole furnace thing, but why is it happening here? Who knows? This is funny because several sequences in this movie, especially this one, they just throw the entire franchise, like the entire thing that becomes a real hallmark of the franchise, which is Freddy can only hurt you in your dreams. They completely throw it out the window.
Yeah.
In the very second movie. And then the rest of the franchise, they pretend like that didn't happen.
Right. They're like, never mind. That wasn't real. No.
Yeah. Because Lisa reads Nancy's diary and basically like they learn how they can like fight him. But like Jesse, he's like, fight it, of him becoming Freddy. But Jesse's like kind of being a bit of a bitch hoe about it. And then all of a sudden Freddy's here. Freddy just like pops up out of Jesse, assumedly, although we don't see that same transformation, attacks Lisa. And like we get this idea like Jesse is trapped inside Freddy and like is talking out of his like abnormally wet Freddy mouth. Like this movie, I will say, Freddy is at his wettest in this movie. He's so moist the entire film. I assume it's moist inside of Jesse, so that's where he's getting all this moisture from.
He's always hitting the showers.
Yeah. Then Freddy gets this, I guess, like an invisibility cloak of some sort or whatever. And this is what you were alluding to. He like pops up and just starts jumping all the kids at the party, just fucking them up. And it's not a dream. And it's like 50 kids. And all the kids can see him. And he's like, you are all my children now. Like he's killing them. He's fucking them up with his glove. He's just terrorizing like 50 kids at a party who are not dreaming. This does not happen again. In fact, this is like the rule about Freddy. This is his vulnerability for the rest of the franchise. Thrown out the window in the second movie.
Yeah. This movie feels like one of those Hellraiser sequels where it was originally a script for something else.
Yeah.
And then they just plugged Freddy into this because there's so much that happens outside of the rules that were established in the first film and then are reestablished in 3 through everything else that it just doesn't make any sense. Like even A New Nightmare, where they take it out of the film world, they do the meta thing. It still has to be a dream that he hurts you in.
Yeah. This is also Freddy is at his most like just petty in this movie as well. The first thing he does when he pops into the party is just go over and just knock all the drinks off the table.
He just clears the table. Like, yeah. He did it inside the house too. He just knocks a whole fucking table over of stuff, and he's like, "Yeah."
Freddy is he's just being messy. Yeah, just being a jerk. Like Jason, Michael, Leatherface. They would never stop that. They would maybe make a mess because they're just beelining and they're just gonna walk through whatever furniture is there. Freddy stops, takes both hands, and just swipes all the drinks and snacks onto the floor or into the pool.
Yeah. It doesn't even have a fun line like, party's over, bitch. It's just,
no.
Yeah. He just tosses it. Although I could see Leatherface making a mess just to make a mess. Like he's
true. He's more childish in that way.
He's unfocused and crazy and has poo brains.
He's got a kid brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea though of Freddy being like, how do you like your fucking cheese puffs soaking ass wet, and just flips them into the fucking pool. But Dad comes out, hears everybody screaming. He's got like a 12 gauge, misses from point blank range on Freddy with the 12 gauge. Lisa then goes to Freddy's lair, but it's guarded by a couple of Rottweilers. And these Rottweilers, first of all, why does Freddy have dogs now?
Because.
Second of all, why do these dogs have scary baby masks on?
Oh, I can answer that one. Because they watched the Invasion of the Body Snatchers and tried to recreate that and fucking failed at that one too. That's a big miss.
It is exactly what it looks like, the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And they try to do the weird dog with the face on. It does not work. It literally looks like they put plastic scary baby masks over top of Rottweiler's faces, and they're just sitting there being good boys too. They're not like barking, pulling at their chain like junkyard dogs. They're just sitting there being good boys, waiting for a treat, wearing a silly baby mask.
Yeah. Yeah, like so those dogs were probably scared because they couldn't see.
Yeah.
And so that's why
they hated it.
That's why they're just sat there. And then they had to obviously put a bunch of dog noises over top. And it's just like, it looks terrible. It's like so jankily edited too, because they probably only have a few seconds at a time of the dogs actually wearing the masks before they paw them off. Yeah.
Exactly. This should have ended up on the cutting room floor. Yeah. They should have given up on baby mask dogs. They should have just said, guys, this isn't working, but they kept it in. We also are getting like a lot of like demon animals, like they have demon cats and demon rats and stuff within the confines of the power plant. It's just things are falling apart at this point. Fast forward, we've been talking about this movie way too long, but Lisa ultimately kills Freddy with her love for Jesse, basically, and it's like, ma'am, Jesse likes boys. Jesse is a fucking demon twink who likes boys and drugs. And you're a rich little square, so fuck off with your fucking Temu Meryl Streep looking ass. But like, she ultimately, Freddy, like burn. So it's really pretty anticlimactic. But it's the thing with like Freddy, and then Jesse's inside of him, and like every once in a while, you can hear Jesse's voice coming through Freddy. But eventually, it's like, if you pretend you're not scared of him, he doesn't like that. So she's just like, I love you, Freddy. And yeah, that's it. Freddy bursts into flames. Freddy burns and then is reanimated. And you're like, oh no, he's coming back. He's doing Freddy stuff. But it's actually just Jesse under the charred Freddy skin, which again, bold decision. Kind of works, kind of doesn't. But it's basically, imagine like when you make like, if you're making like hummus, like roasted red pepper hummus, and you do roasted red peppers, and after you blacken them up, you put them like in a plastic bag or wrap them in like something so they'll steam, and then you could pull all the black part off the outside and you get the yummy roasted red peppers on the inside. That's basically what happens to Freddy, and Freddy is the black stuff you just pull off, and then underneath is like a nice tasty Jesse. That's kind of what happens. And then that's what you think. It's like, that's it. That's the climactic scene. It's a strange scene. But then you get the final scare, because it's Nightmare on Elm Street, where Jesse, in a really funny scene. I actually rewound it, laughed out loud. It's morning. They're off to school. Jesse is, it's a new day. Freddy's dead. He can get on with his life. He's finally got this burden off his back. He goes outside. He's got his hands all bandaged up because, of course, he got all burned. And he does this like his mom's like, "You have a great day, Jesse." She's like, "Thanks, Mom." It's like this big, like overly positive thing. So something bad's going to happen. Jesse does this like celebratory double fist pump run to the bus as it comes up. It's wild. He gets on the bus, smooches Lisa, and it's just like, "I ain't gay anymore. Yay.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women. Women.
Jumps on the bus. And then Sherry makes a joke about how all their friends basically died at Lisa's party, but and Lisa's like, "Don't remind me. My social life's fucked now because all our friends died at my house." And then Jesse starts to get back into his old demon twink ways where he's just freaking out. He's like, "This bus is going too fast. Slow down the bus." And Sherry, they're like, "No, dude, chill. You're straight now." And then Sherry gets the fucking Freddy mitt through her chest, blasts through the chest, and then the fucking bus launches into the desert again, and assumedly it starts all over. So it's the most non-ending ending. It's such a confusing message. We're not sure if, because it really feels like, everything's good because Jesse worked through his gay demons.
Right.
That's what it feels like for a minute. And you're like, that's not really what I thought this message was. And then to reinforce that, but also kind of reinforce it in a positive way, it's like, no, you're gay forever, Jesse.
Into the desert with you.
But that's evil. I'm like, wait, what?
You're gay forever.
I thought this was like... It's so confusing, right?
Yeah, you're gay forever, but it's evil to be gay. So
I'm like, wait, I thought we were on Jesse's side.
Yeah. The movie is just trying to do too much. And again, it's stealing from a whole bunch of other movies. It's stealing from Poltergeist and Amityville and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And this ending where Freddy gets set on fire and then Jesse comes out of the shell, that's the ending from Ghostbusters. He's Sigourney Weaver in this case. So
yeah, you're right.
It's just... And then I feel
which also makes sense. Like Sigourney Weaver, which I don't know Sigourney Weaver's sexuality, but Sigourney Weaver, who is like a well-known gay icon as well.
I feel like the writer of the film and probably the Jesse's actor, I feel like maybe the two of them had ideas about what this movie could have been, but the director and more than likely the studio for sure had far different ideas of what this movie was supposed to be.
I'm sure. And I wanted to go back and rewatch because I know there's a lot of discussion around that in Scream Queens, the documentary, or Scream Queen. And I didn't have time, but I know there's a lot of discussion about that. But I don't think it necessarily got to the core of everything. It was more about Mark Patton's experience as like a young gay actor and then having, anyway, it's just a real confusing message. But a bonkers movie with some real weird performance decisions. And like, I've been watching since we started here, we've been recording, listeners of the show will know that I usually have some sort of horror movie on in the background. And it's usually stuff I've seen 100 times. I started with Sleepaway Camp 2 because I love that movie. And Tubi immediately took it into Sleepaway Camp 1. And now I'm watching Sleepaway Camp 1 and I'm about at the corn boiling water on the pedophile scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this movie, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, has approximately the same number of insane acting decisions as Sleepaway Camp. Famous for its insane ass acting decisions.
Yeah, it is. There's also just all hunky boys in short shorts in both films. So yeah,
true.
It's all
and
the same.
Just like a well, LGBTQ plus like allegories and all this. Like this movie is the sleepaway camp of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Yep.
Yeah.
It still stinks. It's still like there's not
it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
There's not enough Freddy. You know, like we said, a lot of the effects don't work. Even that very last jump scare you're supposed to get where the glove comes through Carrie's chest, it's edited poorly. And then it's
super telegraphed. You can see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah. There's no sting to it. It just happens. You go, all right, whatever. Bye movie. Bye.
See you later. Never.
Continued in part 2.